Road trips are supposed to be peaceful escapes, but once the sun goes down, highways turn into miles of darkness, and the things hiding in that darkness aren't always human. Tonight, you'll hear 3 terrifying true road trip horror stories from people who barely lived to tell them. It was early June 2017. I was taking a trip with my 9-year-old son Tom to visit family in West Virginia. My AC wasn't working, the heat was brutal, and by hour 6, both of us were irritated and exhausted. We left late, so by 9 p.m., we were still on the interstate in complete darkness. Tom started complaining he needed the bathroom. Tension was already building, and the arguing didn't help. I saw a blue rest area sign and pulled off. The place was small, 2 bathrooms, vending machines, and 1 white pickup truck parked alone. Tom ran into the bathroom. I kept the car running. 1 minute later, the back door opened. I assumed it was Tom, so I stayed silent and pulled out of the rest area. That same white pickup truck pulled out too, right behind me. At first, I thought nothing of it, but he stayed close, too close. I changed lanes. He changed lanes. I sped up. He sped up. Then he began flashing his headlights aggressively. I pulled into the right lane. He did the same. I slowed down. So did he. He rolled down his window, shouting something I couldn't hear while pointing wildly at my car. He motioned for me to pull over. I had no idea what he wanted, but I told Tom to stay calm and prepared to floor it if he tried anything. I stopped on the shoulder.
That's not your kid.
Before I could process the words, my back right door slowly opened. I turned, and a full-grown man stepped out of my back seat. Not my son, not even close. He bolted into the woods without a single word. I jumped out screaming, but he was gone, swallowed by the darkness between the trees. The man from the pickup yelled, "Your son never came out! That guy did!" I spun my car around and sped back to the rest area. Tom was standing outside the bathroom, confused. He said he hadn't seen anyone else go inside. The pickup driver waited with us until Tom was in the car. Then he told me he saw a tall man crouching near the back of my car when Tom ran inside. That man must have slipped into the rear seat the second Tom left the door unlocked. I never saw his face, never heard him breathe, never knew what he planned to do, and I still don't know how long he sat behind me before the pickup driver noticed. My girlfriend and I were on a 10-hour drive back home from California. Everything was fine until midnight, when we stopped for Wendy's and got back on the freeway. I was eating while driving when it suddenly started raining, hard. My girlfriend told me to pull over. The moment I did, the sky opened up. We could barely hear each other over the downpour. Then, a loud, sharp bang hit my window. I looked left. A face was pressed against the glass. A woman, soaked, pale, hair plastered to her face, just staring. My girlfriend screamed. I cracked the door open and yelled over the rain. The woman begged us for a ride. She looked desperate and freezing, so I told her to get in the back seat. But once she sat down, something felt wrong. Her breathing was too slow, her posture too stiff, and her eyes were locked on the back of my head the entire time. I asked where she was going. She didn't answer. I turned around slowly. She was still staring, blank, expressionless, like someone who hadn't blinked in minutes. I said I'd drop her off in the next town. That's when she screamed, a blood-curdling, animalistic shriek. Before I could react, her hands wrapped around my throat from behind and pulled me back. My girlfriend slashed at her face with her nails, making her release me. I slammed the brakes. The woman kept screaming, first in rage, then in pain. I threw open the rear door and dragged her out into the rain. She dropped to her knees, clutching her face, begging,
"Please, please, please."
I slammed the door, locked the car, and drove. She chased after us for a few seconds, pounding on the rear window with both fists before fading into the night behind us. My girlfriend called the police immediately. They told us they'd send someone, but their tone made it clear. They'd had calls about a woman wandering the freeway before. We didn't stop again. The rest of the ride home was in silence. I still see her face sometimes. I wish I didn't.
This happened in 2010. I was driving my Ford F-150 from Pennsylvania to rural Georgia, 14 hours in one day. I was exhausted by the final stretch. By 11:30 p.m., my GPS directed me off the highway onto dark, empty back roads. Heavy forest on both sides. No houses, no streetlights, nothing. I was going about 55 when 4 shiny objects appeared ahead. I hit the brakes hard, traffic drums. Behind them, a police-style spike trap. No police in sight, no cars, just a spike strip in the middle of nowhere. I got out with my baseball bat, confused. Then a voice echoed from the woods.
Help! Somebody help!
I stood still. The voice was close, but the woods were pitch black. I yelled, asking what was wrong. No reply. I walked to the edge of the trees and scanned the branches illuminated by my truck's lights. That's when I saw him. A man crouched behind bushes, staring directly at me. Unmoving. I walked calmly back to my truck. As soon as I shut the door, 2 new silhouettes emerged from the trees, walking toward me. Slowly, deliberately. I floored the gas, veered into the dirt on the right side of the road, and drove around the spike trap. In the rearview mirror, 3 figures stood around the traffic drums, watching me escape. Then the trees swallowed them. I didn't breathe normally for 10 minutes, but the nightmare wasn't over. I reached a small, empty town with abandoned buildings. As I drove, I spotted another set of old traffic drums. I went around them. Then I checked my mirror. A figure stood at the tree line, perfectly still, facing me. I sped up fast. When I finally reached my cousin's house, I heard branches cracking in the woods behind the property. My cousin and I found fresh human footprints leading back to the road. Later that night, my phone vibrated. My GPS app was open, by itself. It showed my location, and a single blinking waypoint, deep inside the forest where the trap had been set. I erased the app, powered off the phone, and never used that route again.
Dark highways, empty rest areas, rain-soaked roads, forests stretching for miles. Most people will drive them without ever knowing who or what might be watching from the shadows. But for the people in tonight's stories, they learned the truth the hard way. And they were lucky, because some road trip stories never reach the destination. Road trips only feel safe until darkness falls. Tonight, here are 3 new true road trip horror stories from people who survived encounters no one should ever experience. It was 2014. A man named Ethan was driving cross-country from Colorado to Kentucky. Around 2 a.m., he reached a long stretch of interstate with almost no traffic. Heavy fog rolled in, thick to the point his high beams were useless. He eventually passed under an overpass, but the moment he did, something hit the roof of his car. Not like debris, more like a person dropping onto it. He slammed the brakes and heard footsteps scrambling across the roof. Heavy, fast, panicked. Ethan looked in the rearview mirror and saw a shadow slide off the trunk and disappear into the fog behind him. He floored the gas and drove for 5 more minutes, heart racing. When the fog lifted, he finally noticed something on his windshield. A handprint, perfectly outlined in dirt. From the outside, as if someone leaned over the windshield from above. Ethan pulled into a rest stop to clear his head. He got out and checked the roof of his car. There were drag marks in the dust, long streaks, footsteps, like someone had crawled across the top while he was driving. He rushed back into the car and froze. A fresh handprint was now pressed against the passenger side window. No one was around. He drove the remaining 4 hours without stopping again. Later, police told him that stretch of interstate had reports for years. A man living under the overpass who would jump onto moving cars. Some drivers were never found. A couple named Jamie and Nicole were driving through rural Arkansas. It was almost midnight when the GPS led them onto a narrow dirt road deep in the woods. No lights, no houses, just darkness. After 5 minutes, they saw a car parked sideways across the road, blocking the path. Hazard lights blinking, both front doors wide open. Jamie slowed down, thinking there was an accident. Nicole begged him not to stop.
He rolled down his window and yelled, "Hello, anyone hurt?"
No answer. He honked the horn twice. Still nothing. He tried driving around the car by pulling into the brush on the right side. As the headlights shifted, they illuminated the front seat. Someone was sitting in the driver's seat. but their head was tilted at a disturbingly unnatural angle, like it was hanging by a thread. As the truck's wheels hit the dirt again, the figure in the car slowly turned its head, straight toward them. Its mouth was wide open. Too wide. Jamie floored it. They got back on pavement 10 seconds later, but Nicole kept staring out the rear window.
There are people coming out of the woods.
Jamie looked. Dozens of silhouettes emerged from the trees behind the abandoned car. Not running, not yelling, just walking silently toward the road. He hit 80 mph and didn't slow down for 20 miles. When police later searched the area, the abandoned car was gone. No trace of anyone ever being there. A man named Daniel was hauling furniture at night from Ohio to Tennessee. At 1 a.m., he noticed a semi-truck behind him with its high beams on. It stayed on his tail for miles. He changed lanes. It changed lanes. He sped up. It sped up. Finally, Daniel got annoyed and pulled onto an exit ramp so the truck would pass. But the truck followed him off the highway. Then it pulled up beside him at the red light. The windows were tinted black. Daniel glanced over and realized the truck had no driver. None. Not a shadow. Not a silhouette. Nothing behind the wheel. The truck suddenly lurched forward, forcing Daniel to swerve back onto the road. It followed him down the dark exit road, engine roaring. He drove nearly 90 mph on winding lanes. Every time he looked in the mirror, the truck was perfectly centered behind him, never swaying, never slowing. Then, without warning, the truck made a sharp right turn, straight into the woods. No road, no path. The massive semi just vanished between the trees.
Daniel kept driving until he found a gas station. The clerk told him he wasn't the first person to report an empty truck chasing them. And every story ended the same way. The truck always turned into the forest. Authorities searched. There were no tire marks anywhere.
Nighttime roads hide more than darkness. They hide people who wait for the perfect moment. Cars abandoned for reasons you don't want to know. And sometimes, things that follow you, even when no one is driving them. These were true road trip horror stories from real people who survived the night. Many others weren't so lucky. In 2018, a man named Caleb was driving from Nevada to Utah after visiting family. The road was silent, the radio barely picking up a signal, and the temperature outside kept dropping even though it was late summer. Around 1 a.m., Caleb stopped at a tiny rest area to stretch his legs. Only 2 old streetlights worked, flickering constantly. As he stepped out, he heard gravel crunch, slow, careful steps, but saw no one. He brushed it off and continued driving. 20 minutes later, he began smelling something strange, like damp clothes and rotten wood. He rolled down his window, thinking maybe he'd driven past a dead animal, but the smell got stronger. Then, he caught it in the rearview mirror, a shape, dark, unmoving, on the floor of the back seat. His chest tightened. He didn't dare turn around. At first he thought it was a jacket. Then the shape breathed. Caleb slammed the brakes. A figure immediately sat up. A man, filthy, hair matted, eyes wide open like he hadn't blinked in hours. The man whispered,
Don't go back to the rest area.
Caleb threw open his door and ran into the desert, screaming. The man didn't chase him. He just stepped out of the car, looked around the empty highway, then ran into the darkness. Police later told Caleb that the rest area he stopped at had a reported vagrant living under the building, someone known for sneaking into cars and robbing drivers. But that man in Caleb's car didn't steal anything. He left a single message scratched onto the inside of the door. They were coming. You left too early. No one knows what he meant. A couple, Jenna and Michael, were driving through Oregon during a storm. Visibility was almost zero. When they saw a glowing exit sign reading Red Hollow 1 mile, they decided to pull off and look for shelter. They later learned that exit has never existed. The road led to a small town with no lights, no people, and houses that looked abandoned for decades. But every house had a candle glowing faintly in the window. Rain hammered the roof as Michael slowed down. Something moved between the houses. Tall, thin, unsteady. Dozens of figures began stepping out of the shadows, gathering on porches, staring at the couple's car. Their faces were pale, stretched, and emotionless, not blinking, not speaking, just watching. Then the car radio turned on by itself. A distorted voice whispered,
"Don't stop!"
Michael floored it, driving back toward the highway as the figures began following. Slow at first, then faster, almost gliding over the wet ground. When they burst onto the main road again, the exit lane behind them was gone. Just forest. Emergency services said there was no red hollow, no exit, no road. But Jenna still swears she remembers each face staring at them, because she's seen one of them again, standing outside their apartment window last winter. A college student, Sam, was moving from Texas to Colorado and driving alone. Behind him, a large semi-truck began tailing him closely. Too closely. For miles, the truck didn't change lanes or pass, just stayed behind, inches away. As night set in, the truck's lights flickered like its power was unstable. Then Sam noticed something chilling. The driver's silhouette never moved, not once. No shifting, no adjusting. Just still. Sam pulled into a crowded rest station, thinking the truck would finally pass him. But the truck pulled in too, and parked directly behind him, blocking his exit. Sam froze. The truck door creaked open. A man stepped out wearing a torn uniform and a broken-down cap. But what terrified Sam wasn't the man. It was the smell, like something dead had been locked in that truck for weeks. The man began walking toward him, extremely slowly, like each bone cracked with every step. Sam jumped into his car and sped out, driving over a curb to escape. The truck didn't chase him. It just sat there, engine off, lights flickering. Hours later, Sam reached a motel. The receptionist saw his shaky hands and asked what happened. When he described the truck, she went pale.
That trucker died 3 years ago, on this same route. People still see his truck following them at night.
Sam didn't believe her, until she turned her computer monitor to him. On the security camera feed from outside the motel, the same truck was parked across the street, engine off, lights blinking, no driver inside. These stories aren't legends. They aren't campfire tales. They're experiences real travelers faced, alone, in the dark, on roads where anything can be waiting for you. Stay safe on the road. You never know who or what might be following you. Enjoyed the story? Subscribe, like, share, and comment below. Let us know which part scared you the most.